Hi, everybody. I'm Rainbow, and welcome to Dimensional Walking. Today, what I thought I would do is kind of a little bit of a commentary. And the reason why I wanted to do this is because for probably the past, probably since the beginning of the year, it's already July. Um, I I have had a problem with just trying to get myself excited about doing stuff as far as the and I know obviously too. I had a problem with my leg and I got it fixed and I'm doing so much better. But I noticed that even if I wouldn't have had that problem with my leg, that I was a little depressed about the paranormal. And I had gotten to the point to where it just didn't matter what show I watched. And I have certain shows that I love to watch. I like the Foreman brothers. They're phenomenal. And I like Franco TV. He's really good. And a few others, like I like the Dead Files. But I had realized after a while that either, maybe I changed or I just wasn't getting out of the shows necessarily what I used to. And I think that with everything that's going on in the world today, that's probably the reason why. With the paranormal shows, the one thing that I have noticed is that there's this idea that a lot of the different things that are happening in homes has to do with a demon. And while I know they're there and I have experienced for myself that kind of horrific evil energy, not everything is going to be a demon when you walk into a house that is haunted. There are humans that are haunting the house. And that's been the way it's been since the beginning of time, basically, because not everybody, for whatever reason, always goes and continues on. And I think there's also other entities and beings who live in the ethereal world, who live in the background of our reality, and they have a right to be there. I don't know if maybe in the past we learned how to get along better with them. I don't know if the chaos on the planet has made everything crazier and made perhaps what was unseen, maybe now it's being seen. And I think that's actually what's happened is that a lot of entities and beings are being seen by a lot of people. But I don't think that these beings are always going to be horrible, demonic entities. When you've experienced something demonic, you know the difference between that and something that is a dark, shadowy person or a human spirit that is for some reason stuck and isn't willing to go on. Maybe they're angry. An angry spirit, to me, probably is a good portion of, in most cases of the videos I've seen, is what I think is happening. Anguish, sorrow, different things that happen in reality and in life can cause someone to stick around, especially if they've lost a child or if they have passed away and they have children. I don't think that you a lot of the shows where they go in to get any kind of evidence, and evidence is important. Believe me, I know it is, and I'm not putting anybody down who wants to get that kind of evidence. But what I'm saying is it's the same kind of evidence continually over and over again. And there's all these kinds of gadgets that are important. And I find them, the spirit box for one, really interesting. But at the end of the day, people who are in homes where they're having problems, what do they do? How they dealt with something that is happening to them. And that's more the core for me than anything. I'm interested in the people and how they've dealt with the paranormal than getting evidence where it's like, okay, doors closing and opening, the water turning on, knocks on the walls, people walking. That has been happening for hundreds and hundreds of years. And we have a lot of evidence on that. And I know each situation going into it, the people going in have to find and resolve whatever issue is happening. But the one thing that I noticed is that it's just like either everything is demonic or everything is a skinwalker. And I think that what's happened is that everything is so loosely used now that people don't understand the meaning behind what they're saying. A skinwalker is something that is very scary. And I think if you are living in an area where you have the Native American reservations in the pueblos, you get kind of the meaning of what that is and you understand the meaning behind it. But it's just like people see something, they go, "Oh, that's a skinwalker," and it's not a skinwalker. It's something else. And that's what I'm trying to say is that with so much change that's happened on this planet, I think that there's realms that are open to where we're seeing them. They're kind of open to us where they weren't before. Or or it can be that we are now in a place where we can actually see them more and more. If you're empathic, if you're intuitive, you probably, like me, have seen them since you were a child. And so you try to figure out how to kind of get along with the spirit world. And that's my whole point is why why don't we teach people how to understand what the spirit world is, understand that there are beings that have a right to exist in the spirit world that aren't human. They are other beings and they have a right to exist in the realm in which they live. But if that realm is parallel to ours, we're going to be interacting with each other. So we have to learn how to interact with each other in a way to where we allow each other to live the life that we want without having these moments where we intermingle, especially people who aren't open to it. I remember when I was probably 16 and I had a lot of things happening left and right, not just the spirit world and experiencing things in my closet, experiencing things looking in the windows. I also was dealing with the abductions as well. But the one thing that I knew I couldn't do is, and it wasn't because my parents wouldn't listen to me. They just didn't have the tools to cope with a daughter coming to them saying, "Look, all this stuff is happening to me." They just didn't know how to handle it. And I think that people interpret spiritual stuff as something horrible and negative and wrong when it's not. And my mother was sometimes afraid of her own shadow. And she felt that the church, the Catholic Church, was her shield, her saving grace. And I come from the realization that God is my shield and he's my saving grace. So for me, I came to the conclusion after years of looking for answers and finding some of the answers that it all has to do with how I view the spirit world, my relationship with the spirit world. So, what's your relationship with the spirit world? Are you are you even willing to have a relationship with the spirit world? I don't know. I think that we have to kind of look at it that way. It's no longer them and us, or them versus us, I should say. It's really more about gosh, okay, I'm seeing these things. Why are they coming to me? You're not the only one. There's many, many people out there who are intuitive and empathic who see spirits. It's nothing crazy or weird. This thing of, well, it's embarrassing that I even have to talk about this experience I had is baloney. Get past that embarrassment because I mean, it's rather ridiculous. People don't believe what other people have to say. Only until they experience it themselves do they believe what's being said. And I think in some ways, having children kind of heals a lot of stuff that happens in our own childhood. Because while I wasn't heard and I wasn't believed when I was a child, I raised my daughter, and every single time my daughter said she saw something, I knew she saw it and I dealt with it because I'm her protector. And I was going to make sure that my daughter didn't have anything in her room that was going to bother her, and I was ready for the fight. And so I in a way was redeemed by my daughter because I just truly knew that what she saw, she really saw it. I didn't bring up spirits and ghosts to her. She saw them herself. In fact, she used to see a little boy. And I told little boy he had to go. And guess what? The boy left. So I don't think that everything that's out there is going to be really horrifically scary. There are going to be horrifically scary moments and experiences that people are going to have. And let's try to figure out how to deal with that kind of stuff instead of making everything else what it isn't. So, why I like the Foreman brothers is because not only do they go in, listen to the people because they had experiences themselves, but they go in and they do blessings and they teach people how to deal with spirits who are in whatever situation that they're in. They either ask them to leave or there's a different tools that they give people where they can handle the paranormal activity happening in their house. Now, I think the biggest problem that we have is movies. Movies take horror flicks, take everything that we are the most afraid of, and they create a good movie out of it. And then all of a sudden, that's in the back of our minds dealing with all this stuff. And I think that we have to be rational beings when it comes to the spirit world because maybe they're looking at us as if we are just as scary as they are to us. I think at certain points, humans can be extremely scary, just as scary as anything out there. And there's some that can even be as evil as demons. And I think that we have to take a good look at the different shades of gray that happens in reality because not everything is black and white. And I think the reason why I was so exhausted these past months with looking at shows and trying to get gear up myself for the summer so I can kind of give you guys cool and interesting content is because I'm finding it's the same thing over and over and over again. People going into homes, people finding evidence, scaring the crap out of themselves, and then leaving. And as I stated before, if you were a spirit in a home and a bunch of paranormal investigators were coming in, and every time that they asked for you to communicate with them and you did, and they freaked out and got scared and they ran off, how would that leave you? So you can't expect how we deal in reality any different than how it is in the spirit world, especially if you're dealing with human spirits, especially if you're dealing with human spirits that have some kind of connection to this reality and they're emotional and there's some problem there. I think we got to take a good look at what we're being fed in the different programs that is the same. After a while, if you keep eating the same food, you don't like it anymore, you don't want it. After a while, after you see the same thing over and over again, you want something a little bit different. And as an empath, empathic person and as someone who has experienced the paranormal my whole life, I know that there's so many different types of aspects to the paranormal that we could be touching and we could be experiencing, but a lot of people don't. I mean, for me, I love the Native American way because the Native American way, they're not just one with nature, they're one with every aspect of life, which includes the paranormal. They get the paranormal and they live in the paranormal and in regular life and they understand the difference between what their reality is, what is out there, and how to kind of coast their way through all of it. I mean, I'm not saying that there's things out there that hasn't scared anybody. There's a lot of things out there that scare me that aren't paranormal. You know, sharks for one, alligators, you know, snakes, whatever. But what I'm saying is that, I don't go looking for them and I steer clear from them. So I think that if you can just live your life according to your comfort level, but understand that there's other beings out there that are living their lives just like we are. And they're not always going to be seen in the daylight, they're going to be seen at night because the way that I look at it is we do have dominion in this reality, but maybe there's other beings that have dominion too that I never even thought of. And that's what I'm starting to think that there's other beings out there that I can communicate with to kind of see where they're coming from and to kind of just get a different idea of about what's happening on the planet because there are changes that have happened and we all have experienced it and felt it. So, my take on all of this is that we aren't the only ones that are the most important beings on this planet. There are other beings that we have to learn to get along with. They're not going to look like us. Maybe where they come from, or maybe because it's so parallel to ours, their realm is a little bit different. And we have to understand and start to, I think, get along with the paranormal in a way that we never thought possible. Maybe understanding that the paranormal isn't something scary that is all of a sudden out there. It's something that's always been here. It's always been a part of our lives. How we react to it is the key here. And understanding that other beings have a right to exist as well. We're not the only ones that have the right to exist. So, furthering my thoughts and continuing on with my research, I have decided to start looking at the paranormal a little bit differently so that I can get different results, maybe results I've never expected, and maybe I'll get answers that I never expected to get. So that's it for today. That's my commentary. I hope you guys are doing well this summer. Michael and I are doing pretty good. Life is not bad. So I wish you all the best. Thank you so much for subscribing to our channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye bye.